Now, a couple days ago, there was a great disturbance in the Force when JJ Abrams was announced as the director of Episode 9, causing many Star Wars fans to cry out in terror, and probably a good number of fans to also rejoice. Because even though a lot of hardcore fans didn't like The Force Awakens, there are certainly a lot who did. And when you start to branch out and away from the more hardcore fans, not that I like to separate Star Wars fans into different levels of devotion, because if you're a fan and that's that. Even though, of course, there are those who don't take it quite as seriously as others do. And I dare say those more casual fans generally liked The Force Awakens, as did your average moviegoer. And as proof of that, The Force Awakens made just over $2 billion worldwide. And it didn't do that because most people hated it. It did that because most people liked it. So when it comes right down to it, and you look at it as a pure numbers game, Disney and Lucasfilm made the right choice. Because even though you might not personally agree, JJ has proven he can make a Star Wars movie that a majority of people enjoy and that could also be highly profitable. And then when you factor in the timing of Colin Trevorrow's departure and that originally Episode 9 was slated to come out in May of 2019, though it's now been pushed back to December, they really needed to get someone in there on this project quickly. And who better than someone who has already run the gauntlet that no doubt is writing and directing a Star Wars movie. However, on a personal level, when I first heard the news that JJ Abrams was going to be directing 9, my initial reaction was disappointment. And I think that had more to do with wanting Rian Johnson finishing this thing out, rather than knowing JJ would be coming back. Because even though I obviously haven't seen The Last Jedi yet, I have a good feeling about it. Yes, in the past, I've expressed my disappointment that Luke Skywalker is apparently going to be a broken man in this movie, when all the kid in me really wants to see is Luke having become the greatest Jedi ever. But I can deal with that basically because I know, one way or another, before this trilogy comes to an end, Luke will find his way once more and become what I've spent most of my life imagining he'd be, that of course being the greatest Jedi ever. So yes, I do have high hopes that The Last Jedi is going to be a fantastic Star Wars movie. Anyway, going back to The Force Awakens and what I thought about it, well, as I've said before, I do like the movie, but I certainly have issues with it. Mainly that it felt more like a welcoming back to Star Wars for the more casual fan or average moviegoer, which a lot of them no doubt wanted and appreciated. Hell, the amount of money it makes proves that. But at the same time, it also seemed like a mystery generator, if you will, for the more hardcore fans who didn't need to be welcomed back because, well, they hadn't gone anywhere. I mean, I almost feel like the Rey mystery was put in there just to give hardcore fans something to talk about for 2 years, and, well, it worked. And I know a lot of the fans who hated The Force Awakens place pretty much 100% of the blame on JJ Abrams, but I honestly think that blame is misplaced. Because keep in mind, this was the first Star Wars movie to be released under the Disney banner, and that Disney had just spent $4 billion to purchase Lucasfilm, and thus gain the rights to Star Wars. Which leads one to ask, just how much freedom in writing this script did JJ Abrams and Lawrence Kasdan have? Because I'd have to imagine it wasn't much, and I'm sure they were both told exactly what this movie needed to be and what it had to accomplish. I'm sure they were told to make it familiar, make it feel more like the original trilogy rather than the prequels. I'm sure they were told to do whatever they can to make sure these new characters are interesting, and so that they wouldn't be overshadowed by the original cast. I'm sure they were also told, no pun intended here, that Rey really needs to shine in this movie. In other words, I'm sure they were given a laundry list of things that had to be accomplished and very little freedom to do what they personally wanted with this movie. Because no matter what you think of The Force Awakens or JJ Abrams, the man is talented. And there's simply no way he and Lawrence Kasdan, who co-wrote the script for this little movie you may have heard of called The Empire Strikes Back, got together and the best those two could come up with was The Force Awakens. Simply put, they're both better and more creative than that. And I'm not trying to hate on The Force Awakens, but the similarities to A New Hope and the original trilogy in general cannot be denied. And that wasn't because they couldn't come up with anything better. It's because that's what they were told to make. Because if those two truly had been given 100% free reign to do whatever they wanted with Episode 7, it wouldn't have been anything like The Force Awakens. And no, I'm not trying to talk up JJ Abrams here. I'm trying to give you hope if you hated The Force Awakens and think that JJ will now ruin Episode 9 and make it a Return of the Jedi clone or something. Because depending greatly on what Rian Johnson has done with Episode 8, I think 9 will be very different and very original from anything else we've gotten before. Does that mean it's destined to be good? Well, no, that's certainly not guaranteed, but I think you can rest assured it will be original. Because even though Disney and Lucasfilm made a ton of money off of 7 thanks to nostalgia, that is a well that is going to run dry very quickly. Yes, I can and do forgive them for going to it in The Force Awakens. Again, I liked the movie, but it just wasn't what I'd been hoping for and expecting, which is more on me than anything else. But I know those people who loved The Force Awakens for bringing them back into Star Wars will just as easily turn on them if they don't bring anything new and different into Star Wars. And I very much believe Rian Johnson's Episode 8 is going to be the start of big changes for the franchise, and that JJ will now have a lot more freedom about what he does with 9 than he did with 7. Now, of course, that thought may horrify you if you're one of those people that not only hated Episode 7, but also other projects JJ has done in the past, like the reboot of Star Trek, for example. And I do wish I had some great words of comfort for you if that happens to be you, but all I can do is leave you with something Rogue One and Jyn Erso taught us. There's always hope, so don't give up on 9 just yet. Well, that's all I've got for you this time. Now it's your turn to tell me what you think. Are you happy about the return of JJ, upset, or somewhere in between? Let me know in the comments below, and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.